I'll have a timestamp in the pinned comment of when the video game portion of this video will start, because that's why most of you are here. And I'll try to keep this brief, but I'm a pretty open and honest person with my audience. You might have noticed last night we didn't have an Analog Allies, and that's because I got a call at 8:30 at night that my stepdad, who's been in my life since I was 3 years old, had a stroke. He had fallen and he was on the ground for like 2 hours, and then he got put in the ER, and man, it messed me up, man. It messed me up. Like, he's he's the toughest dude I know. Like, he's not out of shape or anything like that. He works out every day. He lives pretty clean nowadays, but like, it was very shocking to me, and it just put me in a terrible, terrible mood. The left side of his body is not working. They brought him to the hospital, of course, and it's now the morning. He is able to move his foot a little bit, which is positive. He is cognitive as well. It doesn't seem like there's any brain damage. They're letting him drink water now. They weren't letting him, swallow anything previously to that, but it was very shocking to me, and it definitely, because like, you don't expect something like that's the toughest motherfucker I know, and you don't expect something like that to happen. So if you are a religious person, please send prayers. If you're not a religious person, send good vibes and something like that. He's tough. I'm sure he'll be back better than ever, but it's very scary. Thank you to everyone who reached out to me as well with kind words. I sincerely appreciate it. But as he would say, the show must go on. So this one's for you, Dad. Get out of that hospital, because I know you're miserable. All right. So Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders are, of course, live. I actually have a little bit of an update on my Nintendo Switch 2 pre-order situation that I will talk about in a video tomorrow, because I think you will find it very interesting, because I am a very creative person who gets things done one way or another. But with the influx of the Nintendo Switch units being out there, of course, now games have gone up for pre-order, and we're quickly seeing that video game prices on the Switch 2 are very interesting. I don't necessarily think that they are good or bad. I mean, obviously, some cases there are bad things versus the good things, but there doesn't really seem to be a norm that's attached to it. So I wanted to go over all of the Nintendo Switch 2 games that are currently up for pre-order on Best Buy, because I think it paints an interesting story. I saw SwitchUp actually did a video very similar to this, but I believe they're in the UK, so their prices are going to be different than ours would be here in the United States. I'll have a link to SwitchUp's video in the description box down below, because I didn't watch their video, but I was totally scrolling my feed and I was like, oh, that's a really good video. I want to do that too. So let's take a look here at what is going on over at good old Best Buy. So we have 42 games that we can potentially pre-order. Of course, we have the first-party Nintendo games here. Mario Kart World coming in at $80. Still a point of conversation for a lot of people. Rightfully so. I don't think people are excited to pay $80 for a game, but they do want to experience the new Mario Kart game. Then, of course, we have Donkey Kong Bonanza at the $70 price point. So variable game pricing and all that sort of stuff, that's become a large conversation, a large focal point of this. But it's not even necessarily the first party games that I find interesting. It's more so the third party games, because they seem to be like all over the place with prices. We have Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, which does come with the Phantom Liberty DLC at $70. Of course, this does come on the cartridge. Then, of course, we have the crazy editions of the Zelda games, $80, $70, but of course, you're not getting you're not getting the DLC with that. Then we have Street Fighter 6 Year 1 through 2 coming in at $60. And I think this is one of the best like priced games like so far out of this. And I know it's like, oh, $60, the game is a little bit old, but like you're getting that additional DLC, and like this looks like a really good version of the game, and there are Switch 2 specific features in it. Like, one thing's for sure, when Capcom actually like doesn't do like a cloud streaming version of a game, they do like an actual version of a game on a Nintendo platform, they usually go all out. They're usually very top-notch quality games that you can get on the system. More first party stuff. Then we have Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, Now, allegedly, this is all on the cartridge. I know there's been a lot of confusion over that. That is a $70 game. Scrolling down, then we have a limited edition version of Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion. A lot of word scramble there. Just Titanic because they like ships, and Scions because they like quirky Toyota products. No Sleep for Kaname.de from the AI Somnum Files Aiba edition coming in at $50. Then we have a premium edition, and obviously, premium editions of games don't really count all that much, I feel, because you're getting a bunch of extra crap in it. For Story of Seasons at $80, but then you have the standard edition of Daemon X Machina at $70. You have Madden 26, which was just announced, at $70. Of course, most of these are game key cards, by the way, if you're buying them physically. Your mileage is going to vary with that. There was lots of people upset on yesterday's video. I'm just presenting the information. What you decide to do with that information, that is your business, pal. Then we have Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remastered for $40. Okay, so we've got $40 games up to $80 games. And that's quite a large stretch of games here as far as, new releases are concerned. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut at $50. That's an attractive price point for RGT. That is now a game that is added to my list. I like $50 when I see $50 game. Raidou Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army, coming in at $50 as well. And then we have more games. The standard edition of Story of Seasons is a $60 game. Hitman World of Assassination Signature Edition for Nintendo Switch 2. This actually just went up today, so this is kind of breaking news at the $60 price point. So I do like that a lot of third parties are still doing, sub $70 versions of games. Like they're doing $60 versions. And you can say, oh, well, they are older versions of games. But a lot of Nintendo fans buy Nintendo systems and buy Nintendo games. Like there's a lot of them do not cross over into things like PlayStation and Xbox. So to them, a lot of these games are going to be like newer games. We have confirmation of the upgrade packs here as well. You could see that if you get the Breath of the Wild upgrade pack, it's $10 because that is just a visual only thing. Of course, if you are an expansion pack member, you get that for free with included into it. And then Super Mario Party Jamboree is $20. So because that has the additional content. So the $10 and the $20 upgrade pads have been confirmed. Sonic and Shadow Generations, $50. Sega, you're winning me over here because I didn't pick up this game. And I will pick up the Switch 2 version of the game because I feel like it's going to be better. I believe the Switch 1 version was only 30 frames per second. This obviously is going to be 60 frames per second. However, they did confirm that there is no upgrade path for this. So if you planned on buying the Switch 1 version to kind of cheap out a little bit and then upgrade to the Switch 2 version, you actually cannot do that. But once again, $50. Like, bro, I could get Yakuza 0 and Sonic X Shadows Generation for $100 or Mario Kart World for $80. Like if I'm a consumer, 2 sounds a little bit more attractive than 1. But of course, you have the whole facet of Mario Kart World is probably going to last you longer. You have digital versions of games as well, such as Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour for $10. Here is the value. These people, shinin, goats of the game. They decided to charge $15 for Fast Fusion. Million seller. Every single if you buy a Nintendo Switch 2, you buy Fast Fusion on day one. This is going to be one of the best looking, best running, and best playing racing games on the system. The graphics are going to look amazing because they always look amazing because Shinin has some wizardry going on over there. They always know how to get the most out of Nintendo systems. $15, absolute steal. Absolute bargain of a game. Yeah, it's digital only, Who cares? It's $15. Buy the game for $15. We got Split Fiction coming in at $49.99. We did learn that that's going to be a digital download cartridge for the Switch 2. Survival Kids is $50. Like a lot of all over the Kunitsu, which I said terribly wrong the other day, for $40, you can get Street Fighter 6 non season 1 and 2 for only $40. If you're not interested in the DLC, that's actually a pretty good deal. Puyo Puyo Tetris for $40. Um, and then you can get the digital version that comes with 1 through 6. A lot of options here and a lot of different prices. And, I think some people are going to be like, oh, this is all over the place. There's no consistency, but I don't think you necessarily need a lot of consistency with this. There's going to be games for everyone, but I just think the spread, the pricing spread of games, we're going from $15 with Fast Fusion to $80 from Mario Kart World. Like, this is probably the largest spread of prices that we have seen for a video game system ever. And so I just found it very interesting, but I do think that it's good. Some companies are being smart, like Sega doing these $50 games. That's a lot more of an impulse buy than something, $70. So you could maybe get some additional sales off of that to see different versions of stuff like Street Fighter as well. I think that's pretty interesting. You can get the full edition, or you can get the stuff without the DLC, but you have access to play the game. I'm just hopeful that third-party companies don't try to get too greedy. I don't want to see them go up to $80 alongside of Nintendo's variable game pricing, because I don't know, that just seems very dangerous to me. And it's not something I want to see. But let me know what you think of this in the comments section down below. Are you surprised by like the large spread of pricing across these games? Because it is pretty interesting. I think, at least. I hope that people find this interesting as well. But this was kind of a bit eye-opening, especially with the third-party games, learning about the pricing structure of those comparative to what Nintendo is doing. Like, third-party games are looking like a pretty good value so far on the Switch, too. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Please send your well wishes to my stepdad. I'll make a community post, or they just call it post, if I get any additional information, either good or bad, at least worth talking about. Yeah, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.